everyone, welcome to this afternoon's webinar in our Staying Social series, how independent fashion brands can generate business online without competing with industry leaders. Presented today by the wonderful Ellie Bougie-Smith, Head of Digital Marketing at Social P. My name is Neve, I'm the Senior Content Producer here at Hive, and I'm filling in for Suzanne today. I just have some very brief housekeeping to go through, and then I'll hand straight over to Ellie. I'm sure if you've attended any of our previous webinars, you'll know some of this, so please just bear with me. Firstly, we are live, so please be patient if there are any technical hiccups or problems, but hopefully we will manage to avoid that. Secondly, the chat function on the right is open, so please do use it. Say hello. It would be great to know where everyone is dialing in from today, so please do let us know that. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please drop those in the questions tab, and I'll be able to put those to Ellie at the end of the session. And finally, we do have some interactive polls for you to participate in. It would be great to know what you think of the webinar series so far. So please do fill those out and I'll let you know when they go live. So with all of that out of the way, I'm delighted to hand over to Ellie and learn how independents can make a space for their business in the online marketplace. Ellie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Neve. So hi, everyone. Really happy to be here today. Oh, that's just popped to the end of the slides. Neve, are you okay to just pop it back to the start? See, it's always the way with live webinars, we always get the technical hiccups, but we're going back to the start now. So in these uncertain times, it is really tempting to stop or pause all of your marketing activities, as it's difficult to know what else to do at the moment. So you may have convinced yourself that, during the lockdown, no one was going to be interested in your products or your services right now, but your chances are, if you are thinking this, then likely so were your competitors, and it could have given you an opportunity as well. So now more than ever, you should be considering how to make the most of digital marketing for your business. So with so many options of where to spend your marketing budget, let's arm you with the tools to make more informed decisions and strive for success. At the end of the day, we don't want to try and compete with Amazon and Boohoo. They are the retail giants amongst all the other retail giants that we know. We want to make our own digital marketing strategy as independent, smaller businesses our own and really stand out from the crowd by doing just that. And a lot of that is to do with how well you know your audience. So we'll focus on that today. But during this webinar, my commitment to you is to really share my top tips in how to remain agile and pivot your marketing to your audience's needs, not just while we're in the midst of a pandemic, but there's always going to be curveballs being thrown at us when it comes to business. So the ability to be agile and pivot your marketing is absolutely key moving forward, I think, as so many of us have now probably realized. So I will take questions at the end, like Neve touched on, and you can reach out to me afterwards too. And we're also today going to give away 3 free consultancies at the end of today's session. So if you're all ready and you have a cup of tea and a few biscuits, then let's dive in. So first thing I want to show you, as lockdown hit, and we all migrated to working from home, the need for the comfiest loungewear started to soar. As you can see on that graph there, the little blue line, you can see pretty much as soon as lockdown hit, it went straight up. And I'm sure you guys aren't the only ones. But many independent retailers who had traditionally traded or just had a basic website were not ready for this opportunity, or if they were a bit more prepared, it was often from speaking to our clients. It was just a case of getting the orders through, as that's all they could do at that point. But they were missing a huge trick, and that's the strategy element. That strategy element still needed to be there, even if it's in its most basic element. For example, taking email addresses and ensuring they come back to buy more. So today I want to share with you the opportunity that you still have online, especially as we come, we're thankfully no longer in lockdown, but with what has happened, you probably now realize that digital is critical for your business. So whether you had a one-page website, you were selling through social media, or if you had no online presence at all, how can you begin to make an impact online when sites like, we've already talked about Amazon, Boohoo, ASOS, they continue to dominate the market? So how can we set our sides selves aside for that. So let's start with the most important impact of the internet. So you need to find the sweet spot with your organization's needs, which are your objectives, and your customer needs. And those two things are quite different. So you need to put yourself in your audience's shoes and think about what they might be interested in reading or watching or listening to. And that sweet spot isn't always easy to find. Businesses, both large and small, don't often get it. But today I want to share this with you, including how to find out. Now, I want to highlight that this doesn't make it an easy thing to action. And I won't be, able to wave any magic wand to generate you loads and loads of business. I wish I could. But if you action what I share with you today and invest that time and effort, I believe that you will, generate those sales. So as an organization, you have your objectives for being online. The consumer, you, me, everyone we know, uses the internet to solve a problem, to find the answer to something. 99% of the time, we have no interest in any brand's marketing objectives. And so much of brand advertising goes straight past us. Due to the disruption of COVID-19, this has been even more true, and it's highlighted that many brands haven't been focused on their customer wants and needs. They've only really been focused on what they wanted to sell. And this has been a huge mistake and a failure of quite a lot of brands. Regardless of what crisis we are in, if you are using online digital channels to simply just sell, success is going to be very limited for you. But for companies that do listen to their customers, it's a huge win. So you may have pulled your marketing all together in a bit of a panic around the start of lockdown, and that's not a bad thing at all. So many businesses had to adapt and pivot so quickly. But if you are still struggling to generate those sales, we need to kind of go back to square one, go back to the fundamentals that set you and your business apart from those retail giants. As smaller brands, you have the edge because you absolutely have to wear your customers' shoes. And as smaller brands, you kind of know your customers a little bit better because it's a bit more intimate with them. It's not as simple as just knowing demographics, though they, of course, play a part. But really think about their challenges. What problem are you solving for them? What are their interests? What are their goals when choosing to purchase from you? Why you? This might have all changed given what's going on, so do be sure to split up your existing audiences and any new audiences that you might have gained during the lockdown period. So something I'm sure all business owners love to hear is you can save some money and you can do loads of marketing on loads of channels and get a little bit of business, or you could generate your desired outcome from the minimum of output. So which would you prefer? I'm probably going to say the latter. And don't get me wrong, the latter doesn't mean less work, but it does mean a more profitable business and a quicker turnaround as well. So I see companies a lot of the time, they've set up a website and go, yeah, we're just going to see what happens. And it blows my mind every time. And, I'm not talking about small businesses, I'm talking about global brands here who just buy a new website and think it's just going to do what they want without actually investing the time and the objectives in that. So having invested in a website, and we'll come on to websites a little bit later as well, why waste your time on waiting to see, it's almost like waiting for a bus to pass that might have people on them. You can find your audience, engage with them on the right channels at the right time about what they want. It's not about what you want, but it's about what they want. And that's, to really get that problem solved. And for you, it's to buy and generate more sales profitably. So tip number one, listen to your customer and audience online. And I will share some tips on how to do this in a bit, but when you do this, this is where the magic happens, absolutely. Before digital marketing, we had to make so many assumptions about who our audience was. Now you have access to who people are, what they want, and when, and there's data to back that up within our social media profiles, within Google Analytics when people are visiting our website. And when we were talking about social media, you also have the opportunity to engage with people on those right channels at the right time and when people want it. So why don't so many businesses do this? And it kind of comes down, and this is from years of experience of talking to lots of different clients, both small and large, internationally. And the thing that kind of is a common theme is that businesses don't listen to their target audience enough. And as smaller businesses, as I said at the very start, you guys are perfectly placed to do so. So unlike the national and international global brands that I often work with, very, very few of them listen, and they just kind of hang on the coattails of their brand name thinking that's going to be enough. Sometimes it is, but then you're kind of relying on an existing audience. You're not going to bring any new people in to work up that trust as well. So I want you to go away today really thinking about your why. What's your why? And if you haven't seen the Simon Sinek TED Talk on What's Your Why, then I highly recommend you go and have a watch of that for a simple breakdown of this theory. But the why, the purpose of why you work, it doesn't just extend to you, it's also thinking about what your audience's why is as well. Why you? Again, going back to that, what problem are you solving? And again, that might change. It might be seasonal as well, or it might change, throughout the lockdown. We're in a climate that does need to be adaptable. So really figuring this stuff out is absolutely key for moving forwards with your marketing. Now, the internet gives you instant access to update your audience, customers or potential customers. People might not want your product right now, but one thing is highly likely, it will be on their radar. They may well be researching it. So take the image we saw at the very beginning there with the graph. It showed that the search terms for loungewear went straight up, and the search terms for party dresses plummeted around that April time. However, if you sort of go back to that image, and you'll get a copy of the slides so you can have a look at this after the webinar as well, you can see that as lockdown is easing up, pubs and restaurants are open to the public again. Party dresses, the trends for party dresses is starting to climb back up now. So that front of mind still needs to be there. People still need to know, if you're a brand that sells party dresses, that you're going to be there when they need it. So our CEO, Lindsay, she marketed her previous business that she worked for at the time through the global recession. And the biggest mistake that she saw other companies doing was to scrap their marketing budget entirely. The biggest thing you need to do is keep your marketing ticking over. Even if it's at a minimal spend, you've got to be front of mind. To disappear completely is just going to harm you so much. So keep the social media posts going, keep your SEO going, because you'll want and you'll need to be front of mind when that demand returns. So we're going to cover all of these channels in a moment, but the most important channel to get right, first of all, is your website. And if you don't get this right in terms of information, processes, linking to your stock, etc., you are simply wasting your customers' time and subsequently, your own money as well. So things to also think about: how are you going to deal with orders? What's popular? What's trending that you need to get online? Think about seasonal things as well. So summer, although we've not had much of one during COVID, or we've not had much of one in the UK, certainly, summer is almost over. We're nearly into August. We've only got really 1 month of proper British summertime left before we start going into the autumn, winter months, and you get Halloween, Christmas. Those things are all coming up in the not too distant future, as much as I hate to say it, but they are coming up. So think about what kind of things you need to start planning for now to meet that demand, October, November, December. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot to do, but if you want to be in this space and get a positive return on investment long term, you need to invest in this stuff. So it doesn't matter if you are selling online, in store, or in a pop-up shop. You have to know these figures in order to make any decisions in where you spend time or money with your marketing. So first of all, I want you to think about, what is your profit margin? What's your cost per sale? What is your conversion rate? And ensure you have all this before diving into further digital marketing and more marketing spend. If you don't know these figures, you shouldn't really be spending anything online yet, because you want to know this inside out to know how much money and time to budget for marketing. And you will be able to find these figures from the platforms you're probably already using, but things like Google Analytics as well can further support all the data that you would need for this to go forward. So we're going to have a look at a few examples of what I think are pretty good websites to kind of help you, if you haven't got a website, really set up the key aspects that you want to be looking for, or if you do already have a website as well, what kind of things you could maybe start to tweak and change to really make sure that your website is your best salesperson going forward. So with any e-commerce website, WordPress with WooCommerce, you've got Shopify, Magento, they're all great places to start when building your website. Now you can do bespoke sites, but from our experience, we found that a lot of the time you kind of end up being handcuffed to a site because it's not really adaptable or scalable to important changes without large developer charges. Again, this is just personally what we found working with a lot of different clients in the e-commerce sector. Bespoke sites have always kind of, been a bit of a spider web to sort of untangle a lot of the time. Whereas with things like WooCommerce for WordPress, Shopify, Magento, these are all almost like plug and play websites. So you have a lot more freedom and a lot more flexibility to do stuff. They do have the restrictions as well, but they are as a whole a lot more easier to play with. So this website, Lucy and Yak, they sell some pretty cool dungarees. They have a Shopify site and it's pretty nicely set up across the board. So the experience people have on your website will either get them purchasing or it's going to put them right off. So think about the key elements to a great website, which we're going to touch on in just a second. So I'd say that the first key element that you want to get right is the design. And this is where you should get an expert in a website designer or an agency or involve both, especially in the layout and navigation of the site. The second most important thing is deciding what to list online. You guys are going to no doubt have, loads of SKU codes and products that you're going to need to upload. So anything that will let you do that via a CSV upload is ideally the perfect route to go down. So the next thing that you'll need to look at is really the menu and navigation. So we've got the design, which is, how it looks, the kind of colors, the font, but menu and navigation is so important, and categorization as well. This is critical along with these search functions for people to have a good experience on the website and know where they're going without having to work for it. Alongside this is clear call to actions. You have the clear shop now call to action here in this sale banner, but also when you hover on the category blocks below where you've got the Nike, the caps and the skateboards there, if you hover over those, it also gives you a signal to click through. So they're kind of trying to put touch points and call to actions at every touch point across the website as you scroll through. And just by clicking on the navigation menu up there as well, if you click into clothing, it then starts to sort it by trousers, tops, shoes, and so on and so forth. So making sure that that's really solid is a really key element here as well. And then these are sort of the elements that potentially get missed off quite a lot of websites. I think the first ones that we just chatted about there, they're a bit more obvious. They're sort of what people would think of when you go to a website. But things like credibility and reviews, sometimes, quite often get missed, or they're hidden really far down the website, maybe in the footer. So I love this example from Everlane, as it's labeled from the people, which gives it a very personable feel rather than just another review. Whether you're using tailored feedback and reviews like this, or using a review platform like FIFO, Trustpilot, or Yotpo, make sure this is somewhere prominent for your audience to see, because it will only help build up that credibility and the trust towards you as well. And following on from this, contact details and social media. People want to know how to connect with you. One of the touch points before making a conversion is browsing a brand's social media, so make sure it is easily located for them. And then lastly, an email sign up. So make sure your audiences have a way to stay connected and informed about you. And give them a reason to sign up also. So Everlane here, they've got the example of they're giving away free shipping. So immediately I'm like, oh, free shipping, definitely, I'll have that, because their shipping is quite expensive. So if we can sign up, we'll get a few emails, but we'll definitely get that free shipping. And once you've got their emails, we'll come on to emails just a little bit later. But it's really about giving them a reason to stay as well, and not just unsubscribe once they've got the initial offer there. And then lastly, content and blog. If you have one, then make sure the content is planned out and it has a purpose. A blog should be to educate, inspire, help. Another reason to blog, it helps to be found online. So search engines absolutely love them because they are really, really good SEO juice, and we'll come on to SEO very shortly. It helps you to then also have stuff to share on social media and email marketing as well. But if you don't have the content, don't feel like you need to force it. I would rather, you spend the next 3 months just planning what kind of content you could be looking at, doing some really thorough keyword research on what people are searching for, and sort of waiting a little bit rather than trying to force any content through, because it's only going to come off potentially negative for your SEO results, but also quite thin reading for your audiences as well. And I think it's sometimes quite obvious when people have just chucked something up for the sake of it. So the main thing for your websites and for all your marketing really is to make sure you're attracting, engaging, and converting them. There's a 3-stage approach to how we digital market businesses. So when you're attracting, you're thinking about the right audience using the right channels. When you're engaging, your audience need to be engaged in things that are of interest to them and on things that you want to raise awareness of or ask them to do. And then converting is that final stage. So you're converting the audience into an action, whether that's the goal of buying something at the very end, or you might have a few mini conversions that you can look at as well. So things like signing up for something, if they're booking onto a workshop or an event, stuff like that. Just make sure you're measuring all of that and that you're converting them cost effectively. And we'll speak about measurement shortly as well. So ensure you have a plan is really the biggest thing that I want you guys to take away today, alongside the why are you doing this. And I'm going to come back to that word why right now, which is why are we spending money on paid advertising? And I mean any paid advertising here, whether it's social media, PPC ads, print or radio ads. Your marketing investment is budget and time. So if you're not seeing revenue, you're not seeing website visitors even, or any tangible benefit to what you're doing online, then why are you doing it? Start to review and ask those questions and be quite, self-critical. It's okay to be self-critical about your own business, to figure out why things are or are not working. And a simple way to sort of put this all into one place is our strategy document. So our strategy document, this is one we use for our clients. It's a simple but detailed way of drilling down your objectives, including your targets, any micro targets that you have, your audiences, channels, campaigns, keywords, etc., etc. Each part of the document is measured against SMART objectives, meaning your objectives and strategies should be specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound. So a document like this is highly recommended as it gets everything in one place and can be updated over time. And we do have this as something you can purchase on our website, so I'll link to that at the very end as well if you are interested in sourcing one of these strategies. And alongside this as well, similar to having a solid strategy and a content plan should also be essential to your social media posting. Planning out week by week or month by month will just help you know that what you're posting, instead of posting as and when you might have something to say, it also kind of helps to separate the sales-focused posts apart from general brand updates and information as well. So we just try and key it as much as possible, so it's split from company updates to actual product pushes, new launches, sharing blog content. So you can kind of get a bit more of an idea and a structure to your social media, so you can make sure that that content is going out at the right time when your audience really wants to see it and will be engaged with it. So speaking of social media, let's move on to exactly that. These tips here listed, these are some of the tips to follow when setting up your profiles and good rules of thumb to generally stick to. The content calendar that we just saw should also help you with all of this in terms of planning it. But I think the most important thing here is, those two last points: do not hard sell. And this is a rented space. You're on social media for the purpose of your audience. Your audience are there to find you and engage with you. So if you're not putting that content out that's going to do just that, then they're simply, going to leave. So I'm sure none of you are on social media to be sold to. Virtually none of us are. So why would you put that content out to your audience on social? The clue is in the name. It's a social media platform. So use it to be social, to inspire, to educate, to entertain, rather than just sell, sell, sell. And that's not to say you can't, of course, sell through social media, but it shouldn't be your main focus. Focus on the storytelling aspect of your brand and get your audience involved. Ask them what they think, or to send in their own content. And if you are adding more sales-focused posts, then I'd always be sure to make sure you have the business manager catalogs set up for e-commerce to add product tags and get your audiences easily purchasing without having to do the extra work. So I really, really like this example from Stetson, who the hat makers. They've got a whole story from some of their users, some of their customers, just about what the brand means to them. And it's just a really fascinating read as well. And they've tagged the photographers in that as well. Granted, Stetson have a pretty big budget, but you can kind of replicate these kind of things by just including your audience a little bit more, by just opening the floor up for a call almost for people to submit their stories and what brands mean to you, if you're selling, particularly, comfortable clothes, how does that make people feel? How does it make them feel during the lockdown? Those kind of stories really resonate with other audiences as well. And then Lucy and Yak, they have posted their Sunday blog. So again, this links through to the website, but they've given you a bit more of a snippet there on social. So people don't always have to go straight to the blog. They can get an idea of what this blog is about and still get involved in the conversation just by reading that one snippet. So it's just about adapting that content to just be a little bit more friendly. And video is also a huge feature to utilize, whether you are using pre-made videos or shooting in your store, or even if you're shooting behind the scenes at home. It shows that there is someone behind the brand. Keena and Tom on the right-hand side there, they have had a whole stories highlight on Instagram to showcase their behind the scenes of their new collection shoots, which is a kind of nice little funky way to get people seeing what goes on behind the really polished photographs that you do end up seeing once a new collection is launched. While Yarmouth Oilskins reused a film that they shot at the very start of the year to show off their factory and the love that goes into their craft. Other brands have been known to use that user-generated content of their customers showing off their clothes in Instagram stories or reposting it to their own stories or in their main feed posts. I think the key takeaway is here that with any user-generated content, people love being noticed by brands. So honor your customers by doing this practice, whether it's video or photo content. And stories. Stories on Instagram are one of my favorite things because they are so great for interaction. Whether you do a Q&A series like Pendleton here, a poll to get your audience to vote on the important or not so important things, an interactive quiz on your brand, or countdowns for new launches. Really utilize the stories to your advantage and encourage that user engagement and audience participation, because from an audience's perspective, having a say in potential brand decisions or just chatting with a brand or their head of marketing or whoever it may be is really sort of quite an insight, and again just works up that credibility and the trust for that. And don't forget to set up your products in Facebook Business Manager, as we spoke about before, because you can also get audiences to tap through on your products for Instagram stories as well. So SEO, search engine optimization, it's still a really, really underutilized resource. Being at the top of Google or any search engine, Bing, Yahoo, Ask Jeeves still exists. Being at the top of those search engines is only really the first base. One of the things that you really want to bear in mind as well, that it's not just a one size fits all. You can't just do SEO and it's done. It's an ongoing thing. It's kind of a bit like a bit of a marathon. And bear in mind, if you're also selling internationally as well, or doing stuff in different countries, think about local SEO translations as well. Not everyone in the world searches in English, so really think about what local translations you might have to make to suit local search terms as well. So local SEO is key, but also tell people when you are open, what services you're offering. So for local SEO, you want to make sure if you are in a specific location and you only work in that specific location, let's say you're a boutique in Cambridge, for example, and you do personal shopping experiences, then you want a page on the website that will say about Cambridge personal shopping services. So even if you are not sort of delving into the full e-commerce, then just getting a great looking website with some core pages around Cambridge personal shopping services can still help you be found in terms of local SEO. And I think this example here shows wetsuits to buy near me. If you search for that keyword, Google will pick up depending on your browser settings, but most of us just default have our location settings anyway. It will default to searching for wetsuits near me. So I'm based in Norwich, and you can see most of the results that have come through we've got a few gum trees in there, but that last one there, that Norfolk Marine gull wetsuits, that's sort of perfect for me because I know that's not too far from me. I can just head over there if I really want to, and it's basically given me the result that I was looking for. So this brings me to intent. Being at the top of Google and not giving the right answer is a waste of everyone's time. Google really values relevancy, and it's also quite a high ranking factor as well. So we want to make sure that the article or the page that you're ranking for is relevant to that search term. So how can I do this? Where can we research keywords? What's the start to this? So one of the tools that I commonly refer to most small businesses is just to start typing in to Google itself. So you can see here I've started with how to style A, and you can see it's already suggesting lots of popular search terms that people are searching for every single day. So you can get some ideas around keyword topics by doing that. You can also look at Google Trends, which was the graph that we looked at the very start of this, pitting the loungewear against the party dresses. And if you want to go a little bit deeper to that, there's also Google Keyword Planner. You do need a Google Ads account to get this started, but then it's free to use after that. And that gives you an idea if you put a keyword in, such as, we'll use how to style a jumpsuit. It will suggest keywords based around that keyword. So it might be how to style a bright orange green jumpsuit, or it might be how to style dungarees. It will give you keywords based on sort of similar topics that you can also take and use as fuel for page content or blog content going forward as well. And one of my other favorite tools is a tool called Answer the Public. Answer the Public, again, you just type in your keyword. You only want to use one keyword on this, so maybe we'll use dungarees. And what it will do is pick out basically all the hows, whats, whens, whys that people search around the keyword dungarees. So it could be as simple as what are dungarees, all the way down to how do I style dungarees, and so on and so forth. So it gives you quite a lot of room to sort of play with when it comes to those keywords. And in retail, it's a really competitive environment. So it is key that you ensure that you have the right keywords, the right experience, the right pricing going forward as well. So the last thing I wanted to just touch on was with SEO work. With all SEO work, it's important to know that it is, like I said, a bit of a marathon, but one that needs kind of constant training for. It's not a one-fix solution. It does need maintenance and to be adapted when your keywords inevitably change based on changing search habits. So SEO results can sometimes take a few months to show. They can sometimes take up to 8 to 12 months to show. So don't be discouraged if you don't see results straight away. It does take time. Though this image that we're looking at now is a Cosmo article, the point still stands that if you write relevant, useful articles that are properly keyword researched, you could end up with what most consider the golden ticket of SEO results, which is the feature snippets. So this is the box that appears before search results to give users the most relevant, in their eyes, the most relevant answer. And it can take some time to get there, but it's so worth it when you get there, as this will likely be one of your top search traffic drivers. We've had many clients who, after a lot of work put into those pages and a lot of waiting, have got that secure first feature snippet, and it drives so much traffic and so many sales. It's definitely the thing to strive for. But like I said, it's not something you can just switch on and it does it straight away. It will take 3 to 8 months sometimes to get that golden ticket, but keep persevering with SEO. Like I said, it is a bit of a marathon. For a more quick win, you could try PPC, pay-per-click marketing. It is an element that you want to use with caution, as we've seen a lot of brands over the years get this quite wrong. It's not there to just chuck money at and see what sticks. We recently worked with an eco clothing brand who had spent well over £1,000 with absolutely no plan. They didn't know what they actually wanted out of it. They just thought, well, we should probably be there, so let's chuck some money at it and see what happens. And surprise, surprise, they didn't see any return on investment because they didn't plan it properly. They just let it go. So only spend money when you are happy with the whole process of ads. PPC advertising is a whole nother webinar and a whole nother training course on its own. You can find lots of articles on it. We've got some great blogs on the Social Bee website about PPC marketing as well, if you want to look there for a starter. But like I said, when you're happy with the whole process, that's when you should spend money. Money doesn't always get you more business. So knowing your customer does, and knowing their targeting and how you're going to target them with keywords, demographics targeting, that's the stuff that really works. And you can see the proof in the pudding as well. So for the retail and e-commerce industry, one of the most valuable PPC assets is Google Shopping, where you appear at the top of search results with the details to your products. They're kind of there and they're clear as they can be. So for people searching, they can quickly scroll through these results and choose to shop based on these images and reviews. It's really worthwhile, but do some competitor research first to see who else is similar, to see who else is selling similar items, to see how if you could outbid them and how you can outbid them. We work with a country clothing company who are constantly outbid on their own products due to a large department store retailer outbidding them each time. So make sure you do this research using Google Keyword Planner to see how much it will cost you to advertise on this platform. And it is quite a lot more expensive than traditional PPC advertising through Google Ads, but you've got it straight there. People can click shop in a few minutes, and it makes it a lot easier. They don't have to kind of search around. They're going straight to the product. So it's quite a valuable tool if and when you know how to use it right. And then the last thing, or the last few things I wanted to touch on were email marketing. How many of you are getting email after email with have 40% off, have 20% off? There's kind of, it's nice to have that percentage off, don't get me wrong, but there's no customer focus there whatsoever. So again, it's all about trying to throw kind of paint at the wall and see what sticks. Our inboxes at the moment, and certainly during lockdown, were jam-packed full of emails that pretty much all the time just got dumped in the junk or the trash box. So if you can get it right, you don't only just get a great open rate, but you get to create and see results. So collecting emails and just emailing everyone with an offer is not necessarily a good experience. Understanding wants and needs and crafting people's emails that are useful will drive higher open rates and sales. I'd say if you were going to treat it similarly to anything, treat it similarly to social media. Don't just sell unless you have something exciting, but try to inspire. So this is one of my sort of favorite examples that I've received recently. Everlane's summer outfit picks. It was a great way to get a snippet of what their customers are wearing for the summer, with real people talking about their experiences, instead of just showing off this new summer collection like they could have done. They could have just provided me with a list of all the summer collection stuff, and that would be it. But actually, they've got people who are modeling the clothes, who are real customers, talking about why they love their new pair of, denim hot pants or whatever it may be. And it works a lot more. It's a bit more personable. Another tactic to utilize if you are selling e-commerce is to think about abandoned cart emails. So if you have an account option on your site or somewhere for users to input their emails, then you can take advantage of abandoned cart emails, which will essentially, I mean, I'm sure we've all received one before. Essentially, it will email a customer if they have added items to their basket but left without purchasing. So you can offer them to come back and continue purchasing, or if you want to, you can even offer them a little discount. One of the things that we do is we send them abandoned cart emails 24 hours after they've left. And then if they haven't come back and purchased, we'll send another one 2 days later with a little 5% discount just to really edge them along. And we've seen some fantastic results by doing that as well. Now, you cannot improve what you don't measure. So make sure, if there's one thing that I want you to go and set up after this, if you don't have it already, is Google Analytics. So to set this up, you'll just need to, if you're comfortable with editing code, you'll just need to pop a bit of code in, or you can get your developer to do this for you. But without this, you really can't see how well your website is doing, or your email is doing, social media, SEO, and PPC. You can kind of see individual insights from those platforms, but you don't get to see how it's working all together on that website. And this is really critical to know where you're at when it comes to your brand's performance online. And when measuring, it's really all about measuring the metrics that matter to you. But as a starter for 10, go back to that attract, engage, convert model. So look at who you are attracting, the types of channels that they're using. What are they doing when they get to the website, the engagement part, and converting. Who are you converting and who are you not converting is another thing to look at as well. Again, Google Analytics is kind of its whole own course, so it's hard to kind of give you a whistle-stop tour. But it's something that we have some webinars on ourselves over at Social Bee. So if you are interested in that, then do head on over to the Social Bee site to have a look at what we could potentially offer you there as well. But to put it simply, a high-level report that you can give to, I mean, this is the one that we use for our clients here. A high-level report like this should be able to tell you the metrics, or, you know, most importantly, tell board members or shareholders the metrics that they need to know. Revenue and net return should be the bottom line, but you should also include any PPC spends or any external fees like agencies or PR agencies on this also. Profit margin and knowing your profit margin is also really key to note here. Even if it's an average, it just helps make sure that the reporting is accurate as possible for online performance. We rarely work with businesses who won't give us their profit margin because we just cannot tell if we are actually making them the return on investment that they need to be making. So it's something that's really fundamental that you should definitely pop into this sort of sheet to measure going forward. And we measure this going month on month and also year on year if you have the data going back that far, just to see in terms of seasonality, changes throughout months, what's going on really in the wider picture, to see if we are hitting those objectives or not. And if not, why not? What's been happening throughout the last month that meant we didn't hit those figures? You know, was it the fact that in March lockdown happened and everything went plummeting down? Or, you know, if we sell something that, say we sell the loungewear that we talked about at the very start, in March, did our figures go straight up because everyone was looking at loungewear? It's looking at those kind of metrics and really analyzing the data to say, okay, next year, we're going to have around Christmas a big boom in our Christmas stocking sales or Christmas pajama sales. So we need to be selling this a little bit earlier and really pushing this across all of our marketing channels to make sure that next year is an even bigger month for Christmas pajamas, for example. So some of the key takeaways today, hopefully this is just a whistle-stop tour of strategy and how you can adapt and pivot your current offering. And what you should be really doing as small businesses in terms of the e-commerce space. But every single business, new and old, has someone or something they can tap into. Too many businesses totally overlook this, but I suggest doing this at your own peril. So what we want to be doing is adapting your digital marketing strategy, finding the best channels for your business and measuring that activity and creating a comprehensive report that you can refer back to yourself or give to angel investors, shareholders, board members to really understand what is happening online in the world of marketing. So questions. I'm going to come back to questions in just a second and let you guys submit a few more. But while we're doing that, we've also got that 30-minute digital marketing consultancy session for free. All you need to do is head on over to the link below there, socialbee.co.uk/consultancy, and it will just ask you to complete a form. And within those sessions, we can really chat about anything really in terms of digital marketing. If it's to fix a problem on your site, make a social media plan together, audit your website together, reassess your digital strategy, or if it's just to prick our brain on different elements of the marketing strategy as a whole, and what channels you should maybe be on as well. And then just some resources at the end as well. So the free downloads, we've got a free resource on how to analyze your customer journey, which is a bit of an e-document that's for free there as well. We also have a Facebook group for retailers. And this has been a really valuable tool for a lot of people coming from the Hive webinars, especially. Lindsay and a few of our Social Bee trainers do some live videos every week to just chat through your questions. It's a really, really useful place to come along and join. So do head on over there. We just ask you a few questions about what your business is and what your goals are. If you can answer them, we'll let you on into the group, and you're free to chat amongst yourselves or chat with us on more of a one-to-one basis as well. You also get a copy of the slides if you want to email us at marketing@socialbee.co.uk. I think Neve will send out the slides, or Neve and Sue will send out the slides to you guys as well. We have a whole COVID-19 resource hub for businesses as well who are struggling still. So head on over there to see what things are potentially useful to you. And of course, our newsletter, where we share lots of different lots of news and blogs and useful resources for you to use as well. And with our news, they are a little bit more tailored to the kind of things you want to see. So if you're more interested in the social media side of things, we won't spam you with lots of stuff about PPC. It will be more along the lines of the social media. So it's quite tailored to you guys. And lastly, we have our podcast. If you haven't listened to our podcast yet already, do head on over. We sort of chat about everything from customer journey to strategies. And then every month we also have our digital marketing roundup as well. So the next episode will be out sort of come Monday, Tuesday, about all of the new digital marketing updates that you guys need to know that happened in July, because I cannot believe we're in August already. Where is the year going? So just skipping back to the questions. Neve, are you there?
Here I am. Nice to see you again. Thank you so much for that, Ellie. It was a fantastic session, and I think really great for especially independents to understand where their budget should be spent and making the most out of that. We do have quite a few questions to go through. So we have one from Elizabeth near the start of the session around blogs and blog content.
Yeah.
And she says, I always find it difficult to create blog content as I'm not the best writer. She's previously paid someone before, but felt like the third party view felt insincere. What would be your tips on that?
So what I would do with when looking for people as a third party to potentially come on, I'd almost get them almost like a job interview in a way. This is what we've done previously when we're hiring freelancers for ourselves as well. But also when we're writing blogs for our audiences, we'll usually write maybe 250 words at most, trying to really get a feel for the brand. So if you can get an agency or a freelancer who can do that and just provide you with a bit of an insight into the way that they would brand it, I think that's almost useful, because you can kind of have a few different people giving you different quotes that you can kind of say, oh, this one doesn't really fit the brand, but this one really does. They seem to get it, and just do a bit of research on that as well. They should be able to, write 250 words quite easily. It's not a huge ask. Whereas, getting them to write a whole blog straight off the bat that's potentially 500 to 800 words, they've already done that work and it's quite a chunk of work. So if it comes back to you and it's not in the right sort of branding, that can be, you know, quite disappointing. So I'd almost just, like I said, just get them to write a little snippet up that can kind of see, help you see if they're getting that branding right. And feel free to give them feedback as well. You know, don't be afraid to say, actually, that's not right. That's not really the language we're using, or that's not really the tone of voice we're after. We're more inclined to be a bit more lighthearted and fun and family orientated, for example, which again is something that when you're approaching freelancers or agencies with the work, make sure you're putting those signifiers in. So if you are more of a fun, family orientated brand, make sure you're communicating that to them as well.
Perfect. That's super helpful. Thank you so much, Ellie. We did have quite a few questions about the templates and the strategy documents that you were sharing earlier, and wondered whether you had any templates for social media planning. When to do Facebook, Instagram, those sort of things. Is that something that you guys also have in terms of a resource?
Yes, we do. So we're in the same place that you'll be able to find on the website. If you go to the, let me just go to it, the Social Resources Hub. If you go there, then we have all our templates listed there. And amongst that, you've got the strategy document that we looked at, but also the content calendar one as well. So you'll be able to find all of that there.
Thanks, that's super helpful. We also had a question from Priyanka quite early on, who asked, what if you haven't launched your online presence just yet? How do you listen to your target audience online, and where would you find them?
Ooh, that's a very good question. So thinking back to when we did this for a client, brand new client, they just launched, and we were at that sort of stage where we were doing market research. The best way we found to do it is find businesses that are similar to yourself or have a similar target audience to who you want to reach, and just start seeing about what kind of conversations they're getting involved in and they're passionate about, and who they are. So you kind of do have to be a bit lurkery, a bit stalkery on the social media channels. Instagram's really good for this, and Facebook as well, just to get an idea of their demographics. I'd say if you can get maybe 2 to 3 target audiences for launch, then you can start to adapt them as you go into launch. It might not be, you know, once you come to launch, it might be completely different to who you thought you were actually going to get. But having that as a sort of start of 10, I'd say is how we've done stuff in the past. And yeah, by using competitors or services who or brands who are similar to you or have a similar target audience can really help just sort of navigate that. It's really tricky to give sort of a straightforward answer, because I think there's not really a straightforward answer apart from just doing the research.
Great. Perfect. And just lastly, before we let you go, Susanna had a question, which was, can Google Shopping ever work for selling services, or would you suggest different avenues for services?
You can. It depends on what services you're selling. So I'm trying to think of an idea now. So Google Shopping, you can use for things like events and stuff. But for services, it's very hit and miss on what they'll allow through. So have a look depending on what services you offer. If you just Google Shopping, Google Shopping services, it should give you a list of what is allowed through there. But I'd always say if you're selling more of a service,
sorry, Ellie, she's just said it's an online course service.
Courses, I believe you can. It's dependent on there's a whole thing with it, because we tried to sell our own courses on Google Shopping and we couldn't get them through. And it's something to do around the ticketing of it. So again, it's almost worth just Googling what will let you sell in terms of a course or an event. I'd say depending, I mean, from our experience, we've always had a bit more success with PPC search ads when it comes to selling courses or ads, because you can make them a bit more tailored in terms of the descriptions you're putting in, the titles, and the, this might sound foreign to some of you, but like the site extensions and links, so that the things that you can click on within the ads, you can be a bit more customizable with that. So I'd suggest maybe that, but also, Suze, I don't know if you're there, but what kind of course is it, if you don't mind me asking?
Susanna, can you just pop it in the chat?
Because again, if there's a certain target demographic, if it's more B2B or B2C.
It's how to start a shoe brand. So I would say B2B.
Yeah, definitely B2B. So in that case, you potentially could have a look on LinkedIn and use some LinkedIn ads or Facebook ads as well. Because again, you've got more people targeting options on social media than you have on Google ads. So Google ads, you're kind of advertising to the entire internet who are looking on a search basis. Whereas if you're looking to get in front of specific people for that course, then Facebook, LinkedIn, any sort of social advertising will actually be better to get you in front of people via their targeting. So you can target based on interests, based on job title, age, gender demographics, languages, all of those things. So I'd say maybe have an experiment with some social ads on that one.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much, Ellie. And that was really appreciated by Susanna, who said she hadn't thought about LinkedIn ads. So that's a great shout. Thanks again to Eleanor. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And as we all said, obviously head over to Social Bee, check out all of our Saying Social webinars, and hopefully see you next time.
Lovely. Thank you so
much.
Thanks.